relations. There's a lot that's happened between Friday and Monday. We do realize that. So we have a lot of different topics that we are going to be driving our discussions with today, from both around the world, here in our city, throughout the region, and throughout the country. In fact, when I speak of things that are happening around the country, there was a mass shooting incident that took place in Austin, Texas over the weekend that they believe is tied to the war in Iran. Let's just listen into it. They are giving a briefing right now.
DORAN.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure who's going to speak first at the mic, but just to give you kind of an overview, in case you weren't keeping up with that aspect of it, again, there were so many things that happened over the weekend. The mass shooting that took place in Austin took place on Saturday night. We do know that it happened on 6th Street, which is a very, very popular area for both the locals and for tourists. We do know that multiple people lost their lives, and several others, of course, lost their sense of security and, were injured over the weekend in this mass shooting. Now, when it comes to the possible connections, we do know that the alleged shooter is originally from Senegal, moved to the U.S. in the early 2000s, became a citizen by marriage, and they're not sure as to when he moved to Texas specifically, but we do know that he was wearing a hoodie that said property of Allah, and he was wearing an Iranian flag on him at the time of the shooting. What they allege at this point in time is that he drove in front of Buford's bar there on 6th Street in Austin, began to fire with a pistol, made another turn around the bar as that chaos began, got out of his vehicle, and began to fire with a rifle, an automatic weapon in that area. And that's when the officers, who were not far away, because Austin 6th Street is so busy on a regular basis over the weekend, they have a large number of law enforcement authorities who are there embedded essentially on the weekends anyhow. So it was about 50 seconds. I think they said somewhere between 50 seconds and 1 full minute, that quick, before they were there on the scene after hearing that shots had been fired there at the Buford's bar, and they were able to neutralize or essentially kill the suspect there at the scene. But still waiting on more information about him. We know that he was a 53-year-old man. Again, don't know when he moved to Texas, but according to the Department of Homeland Security, he did enter the U.S. on a tourist visa in March of 2000, and since then became a lawful permanent resident and gained citizenship. They're looking into many different things right now in terms of his mental health and other things of that sense as to why what took place over the weekend happened. It definitely shattered the sense of security for so many people who were out there that day. In fact, there have been videos of other people who were just running in the area that caused other people to run since, because everyone is so panicked. Let's listen in now as they begin this in earnest.
Being here, we appreciate your attention to this and the time. I want to start off by saying just a couple of things. One is I want to again say how proud we are, and I am, of our police, fire, and EMS. Our public safety professionals did a tremendous job, a job where they were moving quickly and bravely to make sure that lives were saved. There were lots of acts of heroism on Sunday morning. I also want to say a special thank you to the victim services of the Austin Police Department for the role that they're playing. They are doing their typical outstanding job. I thank our federal partners on behalf of the City of Austin, all of them. I want to reiterate our appreciation of their professional work. And of course, this investigation is still ongoing, but we deeply appreciate their being involved. I know that the people of Austin, Texas continue to hold the victims of this horrible tragedy in their thoughts and prayers. And then that leads me to also wanting to say a special thanks to the healthcare workers that have played such an important and prominent role in addressing the needs of Austinites after this tragedy. I'll have a few more things to say, but I want to bring up our Chief of Police, who, again, I deeply appreciate the work that she has done and the way she has handled this matter. And so, Chief Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. The last 4 hours have been some of the most challenging in my career. This has been difficult for our community, devastating to the impacted families, and challenging to our APD family. I want to thank our federal partners, Special Agent in Charge, and the evidence response team with the FBI. APD could not do this alone. We are still in the early hours of this investigation. This is a complicated and large crime scene. Our priority is finding answers and the motives behind this crime. I want to thank everyone that has supported our communities and this response. Families will need this in the days ahead. I also want to thank victim services that have come in addition to APD's victim services. That includes FBI, the Travis County District Attorney, and multiple calls of people wanting to help. I cannot imagine the grief, pain, and loss these families are feeling today, and my heart is with them. Savitha, Sean, and Ryder Harrington. To the impacted families that are still waiting for answers, we are here for you. A family resource center is being stood up. As we know, numerous people have been affected by this, and we are daily, hourly, getting calls of people that have been victimized by this. The department will be releasing information soon on what that looks like. When I arrived on this scene, again, it was complex and very large. The work being done by the Austin Fire Department, the Travis County Emergency Medical Service, and APD was quite impressive. Once the initial scene was secured, we reached out to our federal partners to assist in this resource-intensive scene and to address concerns of potential terrorism. We are working in tandem with the FBI, conducting numerous interviews and gathering evidence. If you can imagine, we have over 150 witnesses to this event that we are working with the FBI. And we are also investigating an officer-involved shooting. As I have committed in the past, in any officer-involved shooting, we will be releasing info as quickly as possible. Later this week, potentially Thursday, we'll be releasing body-worn camera of this event, as well as information on the suspect, including criminal history. Again, we are making, and I want you to know that we are making tremendous, significant progress in this case, but it will take time. In closing, I want to take a minute, as the mayor, echo the mayor, and talk about just the fantastic work that the Austin Police Department with the Travis County Emergency Medical Services did here. Multiple lives were saved. You know, in Texas, we are fortunate to have the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Center, and that's the Alert Center through Texas State University. And that training, there's no doubt that in that coordinated response with EMS saved lives this night. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
I also want to point out that we're joined today by our city manager, T.C. Broadnax, and council member who represents the downtown area, Zoe Kadri. Before we take your questions, I want to say that we recognize that this is a very traumatic moment in our city.
Okay, again, we've been listening in there to a press conference with officials in Austin, Texas, after a mass shooting took the lives of 2 people and injured more than a dozen late Saturday night into Sunday morning in a very popular area. The gunman, a 53-year-old man who became a naturalized citizen. There are still a lot of questions as to how what took place and why. the why question as well, but prayers for the families who have been impacted with a loved one loss and so many others that were in that area whose lives are changed forever. They talked about having significant progress already in their investigation, which is now a federal investigation, as well as they look at the possibility of a nexus to terrorism, but they also say that this will take some time. So they're still in the early stages of that. Let me set you up with what else we are anticipating here in this hour. We do have some great news for downtown Chicago. The Chicago Loop Alliance has announced plans for a new arts district in the Loop, highlighting some returning foot traffic we all love to see. They say performing arts and cultural institutions drew more than $1.4 million and people in the Loop in the fourth quarter of 2025. So they are hoping to, of course, increase those numbers even more as time goes on. That news also coming as we get the news that at the same time, Chicago has been named the top U.S. metro for corporate relocation and site selection by Site Selection magazine. This marks a record 13th consecutive year in that #1 spot. So we hope that we can continue to have that momentum there and continue to stay in that top spot for U.S. metro areas. And then we'll discuss whether all business is good business. That is debatable, of course. South Chicago residents have launched the Southeast Neighbors for Quantum in support of the historic Illinois Quantum and Microelectronics Park development that's been going. That discussion has been going on. We've talked to others who were not so excited about the possibilities and that proposal. And now we'll be able to hear from this group that represents business owners, educators, parents, artists, homeowners, and they say change makers and advocates in that area who are passionate, they say, about bringing jobs, opportunities, and investment to their community. So lots of things that we're going to get to. We're going to go now to a warning, especially for pet lovers who may be watching or listening right now. The Lake County Health Department is warning residents about a scam targeting pet owners searching for lost animals. They say individuals are impersonating Lake County Animal Care and Control and other local organizations to exploit individuals during emotionally difficult situations. And so it's 1:12 right now. I want to go ahead and bring in our first guest here, Robin Van Sickle with the Animal Care and Control Program, who is the coordinator there for Lake County. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, good afternoon.
I really appreciate you waiting for us as we took that press conference. I know you were already on the line, but this is an important conversation too. There's just nothing like that moment of despair when you realize that your dog, your cat has gotten away, and you try to figure out what do I do. And of course, people who don't have good hearts will take advantage of that.
Absolutely. When you have a pet that you consider your own family member, everyone gets distraught when the animal goes missing. So we certainly encourage utilizing all the resources to try to help reunite your lost pet with your family. And one of the very popular and highly useful tools that are used in reuniting pets with owners is social media. There's a lot of pages out there, community pages, municipal pages, as well as regional pages that help reunite pets with families. However, scammers are using that to exploit people that are distraught looking for their pets. Most recently, we learned that our agency, Lake County Animal Control, was being used as an identified agency that has found pets and are calling those distressed pet owners looking for money in order to address an urgent medical need to save their pet's life. The problem is we're not that agency that has their pet. It's a scammer that's looking for money, and they do not have their pet.
Oh my goodness. Whether it's a search for people, we've all been following this Nancy Guthrie story out of Arizona, or whether it's a search for your furry family members, people
Right.
who step into that with nefarious purposes. You just wonder, like, well, where is your soul? And they do it in so many different ways with technology now.
Correct. And people are mistakenly putting way too much information out on social media. So the first word of caution when you're getting a phone call about your potential pet that was found is to ask for identifying markings or location or things that you may know that the other person doesn't know, and continue to press for the information to verify that they have your pet. But if they keep pushing for sending money or the urgency and the animal's life being threatened, then certainly look up their information, ask what agency they're calling, whether, we've heard that not only our agency, like County Animal Control, but also local animal hospitals are being used as well, that the pet is at the emergency clinic and it needs surgery and we need the money or the deposit to move forward with the surgery, but they're asking for the money to be sent to a cash app, whether it's Zelle or Venmo or PayPal. And they want it sent to a weird number. So contact the agency itself, whether it's the animal hospital or like us, for example, the Animal Care and Control. Call the phone number that's on a website that's a publicly displayed phone number and try to get a hold of the actual person. But people are being very evasive with the information that they're providing, and that should be the first warning.
Yeah. How do you even investigate this kind of stuff?
When we receive the information, we report it to the authorities, but it's really hard to investigate when the phone numbers that are out there don't necessarily go to a unique person that we can follow up with. So we just want to make sure that pet owners, the community is aware, and as they're looking for their lost pet, that they're using well-known sites, such as their community pages within the towns that they live in, their neighborhood pages, police department pages, but again, limit the information that they're putting out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let's just say, all right, somebody was acting fast, they were in an emotional tight place and they acted fast, and now they believe that they've fallen victim to the scam. What then?
Well, we certainly recommend contacting your police department to report the claim. If there's any way to stop payment with your bank, absolutely do that. But sometimes once the money is sent, it's hard to get it back. These people are using very hard words. They're playing to the emotional distraughtness of these people. These people that are missing their pets are looking for any sign or any way to reunite with their lost pet. So they're clearly emotional and they're not thinking straight. So anytime a person is presented with that phone call or that text message or that message through Facebook, to question everything about it, see if they can get a picture of the animal, if there's any kind of sign of life, but otherwise, the way to protect themselves is to not send the money, as hard as that may seem, because we all want to hold on to that hope that it's their pet, but to report it to the local authorities and report it to their bank.
Yeah, and I guess, they could just hang up and try to call the number that they have for that particular organization too.
Correct. We recommend verifying the agency that allegedly has the animal, whether in our situation, the people were claiming that it was Lake County Animal Control. In other situations we've heard and learned of, it was an animal hospital that was calling, an emergency pet hospital that was calling. We recommend that person to hang up, look up that website, and call the phone number that is publicly displayed on their website and get a hold of them directly. A lot of times the phone numbers that they're being solicited from is going to come through their phone. They'll have that for recourse, but there's not much more that can be done unless money is sent and then getting the authorities involved.
How much worse have these types of scams gotten? I feel like every business, every organization, every anything is getting these types of calls now, or just everyday people. We're getting inundated with these types of calls and text, claiming to be representatives of your organization or some other organization out there.
With all of the lost pet sites that are out there, we're hearing more often that people are receiving phone calls for money in return for their pet. Sometimes the sometimes the pet was found a far distance away. And so people are asking for money for transportation, for gas to drive back. But this is the first time that we're hearing of the urgent plea to save the animal's life because of a medical necessity. It happens way too often than we really want to admit. And that's why it's important, regardless of an agency being identified, if anybody's calling asking for money, to be very, very cautious on sending that money unless you can absolutely verify that they have their animal, but try to do that in a sense where it's after the animal has been reunited if you feel the need. And we're seeing, especially when people put out reward if found, that certainly tends to stir up the scammers more so than in other cases when you're just looking to reunite with a pet.
Sure, and I guess a conversation like this would need a mention also of getting your pet microchipped.
Oh, absolutely. It's the best way for an animal to be reunited with his family is through the microchip. But even more so, the microchip information that has to be up to date with people moving or changing their addresses. Fortunately, people don't have a lot of landlines anymore, so the cell phones follow them. But a lot of times if an animal has been rehomed or given to a shelter and then readopted, that information tends to be a dead end. So not only is it important to microchip your pet because that is their first identification to getting back home, but also making sure the information attached to the microchip is up to date.
Well, wonderful speaking with you today. I wish it weren't under these circumstances, of course, but thank you for what you all do on a regular basis.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Take care. It's 1:21, everyone. Give us a quick 2 minutes and we'll be back with our next guest. It's just about 1:25, everyone, and since the big announcement and ribbon cutting, really, of the quantum project on the south side, that was like in the fall, late September, early October, we've heard a lot of different opinions on whether this is a good or a questionable thing for the city of Chicago, and more specifically for the residents in that area. And so now today, there is a group of South Chicago residents and a South Shore residents who have joined forces for a new organization that they have formed to elevate the voices of people who are really excited about it. And Dr. Ronnie Faison, who is a principal with St. Francis de Sales High School and a founding member of the group, is joining me now. Dr. Ronnie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about the you all's announcement today.
I think it's such an exciting announcement. When I always tell this story, but when I heard 3 years ago that Cranes was talking about this project and that the southeast side was a possible site, I called a friend of the school and I said, they might choose us. And he quickly explained, he goes, Ronnie, they'll never choose us. And I kind of pushed back and I said, we have a wonderful part of the city. I hope that they do. And to have it come to the South Chicago neighborhood and the southeast side is such a beautiful thing, because for so long we felt like a forgotten part of the city in a million different ways, whether that was food access or availability to jobs and economical structures. I think this has been just a beautiful story of resilience of a community and what that means for us.
Immediately when that came out, as I said in my intro, there were activists who were like, not so sure about it. Have you all been in communication with those who really sit on the fence of whether this is a good thing for residents overall in the Southeast?
Sure. I think what I would say is that you shouldn't blindly go into anything, right? I think asking questions is always a good thing. And I think that's an important part of making an educated decision, right? And so it's never the question of should we ask questions? I think we absolutely should. But bigger than that, I think, there was 2 reasons why we really put the group together and we started to put something in action. And one of the reasons was we wanted to create a narrative for the southeast side that was ours. What we so often see are those that aren't from the southeast side creating a narrative around us. And we are very capable of having a voice ourselves. And so this is really what this is about. I'm a 3rd generation South Chicagoan, born and raised here, decided 5 years ago to come back and lead my alma mater, which is such a big part of my life and the work that we do. And so I think right now, as we think and we set at this kind of crossroads of starting this new initiative, I think it's so important for us, one, to engage in open dialogue and answer the questions and not make this quantum project some mysterious thing, right? But be able to have a grassroots movement of answering questions and demystifying what this means for our community. Also, I would push back as an educator and say kids need access, right? They only know to dream as much as we allow them to dream and give them permission to dream. So having a organization here like that, like PsyQuantum, like IQMP on our lakefront, I think is a beautiful example that we are preparing kids for jobs that don't exist yet. So I would really push back and say, come talk to us, come talk to community members. You don't have to go through anyone to come and find us, right? We're right here. And let us tell you what this means to our community and to our students and to the work that we do. Also, we've been fighting this fight for 30 years, right? The steel mills closed and we had to find a different way to the future. And I think this is going to stand as an anchor to build everything else on top of it. And so I think it's really important for us to stand steadfast in that this is an opportunity that no one else has received. And so the South Chicago neighborhood is going to hold on tight to it and support that initiative.
How do you leverage it for investment, for growth?
So I think what's amazing is over the last 12 to 13 months, we've been engaging in deep conversation, right? We've been inviting educators to the tables, business leaders to the table, community activists to the table to have the tough conversations. And it's not a straight line. I think this is a continued dialogue that happens as this evolves. We also created a quality of life survey, in partnership with lots of community members, had lots of open dialogue, lots of listening sessions. And I think this is this has never been done before, right? There's no formula to it. But I think what IQMP and PsyQuantum have done is open their doors, sit at tables with us, have deep conversation, and engage in the work, right? They're not throwing this at us and saying, you must accept this. I think the beautiful thing is that they've sat back and listened and then try to become a partner in the work that we're doing on the Southeast side.
Mm-hmm. For that group of activists that were against it, they mentioned some of the same things, but just from a different perspective, obviously. The U.S. Steel Southworks site that you just mentioned there, they talked about the very same thing, but maybe some of the environmental issues that they thought, could be an issue here, even with this, the involvement. But you've spoken of your group actually being able to talk to some of the developers. Where do you think what's the missing part there? What's the key there?
Sure. I think you have to be from the south side. I mean, we've heard and we've seen organizations come down and protest on our behalf, but we're capable, right? I work with a group of community, activists that are really doing the work and sitting in on hard conversation. So I think sometimes, right, we can push and be kind of unsure of organizations as they enter, because the South Chicago community, time over time, has experienced promises that haven't materialized. So I think rightfully so, right? There's a little bit of trepidation in that conversation, but I would implore our community members to come to the table. Let's do this work together. I also will say that Related and Clayco, they've done this work before. This isn't their first rodeo. They haven't, they've done this work with environmental remediation, all those things before. So I am 100% sure, right? I wouldn't back this project if I thought it was something that would harm us. I bought my home here. I'm a third generation South Chicagoan. I lead in the place that I graduated. So there would be no way I would support a project that I thought it was going to harm myself or my family and those that I love. So I really believe in what we've done. Also, again, you got to be from the community to really speak on our behalf. And I think a lot of what's happening is those from outside of our community are coming here and speaking on our perspective. And I think that that's a problem, right? And so I think I implore them to be a part of the quality of life survey that's happening. I had the education sector for the plan, and we need more people, right? We've talked to thousands of people over the course of the last 12 or 13 months. Come to the table, right? The work is hard, right? I understand everyone has jobs and obligations, but I would implore those that have questions about what we're doing to come and sit at the table and really engage in those hard conversations and hopefully get the answers that they need to feel more comfortable about our neighbors that are coming into our community.
Yeah, I mean, their group is South Side Together, and in fairness, the person who spoke on their behalf says that she is a South Shore resident. You all are Southeast neighbors for Quantum, so it would be good to see you all sit at the table and kind of have some type of conversation as to what would be best to benefit the residents overall, and work through some of the issues that they found and some of the benefits that your group sees. They talked about wanting to create an ecosystem where residents can thrive in clean air, have access to public health resources, and enhance the greenery of South Chicago's land through urban planning investments. That's where they felt the money should be used instead of this Quantum. But you make such a great point about the educational opportunities for young people who, many people will say you can't be what you can't see. So this does give them an opportunity to see greater things than maybe they have seen in terms of what could come of their lives in the future. That is true.
I think you're so right in that. And I'll be honest with you. We have a history of 11 steel mills that occupy the vicinity of where we live. And we've been dealing with environmental issues. And I'm at the forefront of that work. And so it's never a question of whether we want the same things. I think we're just talking in a little bit of different languages. Mm-hmm. But I think also what's going to anchor all of those other businesses that are so important to the continuation of the work that we're doing on the Southeast side is this anchor of Quantum. And I'll be honest with you and transparent with you, is that tomorrow they decide, hey, this isn't the site, this work will continue, right? And so again, these are people in the community that are rooted here, right? We could have chose to go anywhere in the world, but I think there's a narrative that we really are trying to push, is that you don't have to leave the Southeast side to be successful. And I think that was a narrative that was pushed for so long, right? And I think as an educator in this building, as I watch my kiddos matriculate through high school, it's my job to prepare them for the careers that don't exist. I don't want them just to have jobs. I want them to have lucrative futures that break through the generational poverty that often they're born into, which was my story, right? I hit every risk factor for students, right? Low socioeconomic background, disenfranchised parents, all the things, right? And I earned a terminal degree. So I just say this to say is that if it wasn't for people that believed in me more than I believed in myself, I wouldn't be here. So I think that's what our job is to create opportunities so our kids can see a future here on the Southeast side. Also, I have 160 students in my building. Of those kiddos, right, we had only about 15 kids that had gone to the Field Museum or the Museum of Science and Industry,
Wow.
right? And it's 13 miles away. It's our job to create access and a pipeline so that they feel connected, not only to the Southeast side, but for the city as a whole. We have a responsibility to kids and students, and I think this is part of doing that work.
Dr. Ronnie, I'm sure those students are all the better for having you as their principal. Thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about Southeast Neighbors for Quantum, just launching today. Thank you so much. Please keep us updated.
Thank you so much. I sure will.
All right, you take care. There is literally nothing better than passionate educators. Always love speaking to them. It's 1:35. Let's take a quick break and we'll get to our next guest who is already on the line. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 1:37 right now. I want to take you to a live opportunity that we're just saying. I don't know how long it's going to be there. It's a photo op as the UN Security Council is getting ready to get underway, and you can see right there in the center, First Lady Melania Trump. She is going to be speaking and really heading this up on behalf of the U.S. So that is a bit of a shift in protocol, but it's something new, and she's going to be speaking as she is advocated on a regular basis, especially between the war in Ukraine, and so we will see more of her as time goes on. But they were just having a bit of a photo op before all of the delegates get their seats. So wanted to be able to take you there. Now, speaking of world business, let's bring things back here to Chicago. We're in the #1 spot when it comes to metros throughout the country, and we want to keep it that way. We've kept it that way for quite a while now. Hannah Loftus, who is the VP of Research for World Business Chicago, is joining me right now on the heels of a big announcement this morning. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, it is great to be here, and we're excited to celebrate the news of this Chicago metro area winning the top metro area for corporate relocations and expansions for the 13th year in a row.
13 years. Now, of course, if you ask people in Chicago, it's like, well, of course, but how does that selection come about?
Yeah, so good question. It really two ways. One is that it is a testament to Chicagoland's value proposition for businesses. We are the third largest metro area in the United States. We have all of the ingredients for a business to be able to thrive, whether that's access to O'Hare International Airport, whether it's abundant industrial space, whether it's the workforce and the talent that a company needs. We really have it all, and we have the right ingredients. We track businesses that come to Chicagoland throughout the year. So we look at new office expansions, new warehouses that open up, and we really do a good job of making sure that we have a pulse on what's opening up throughout the year. We look at kind of businesses that are over 10,000 square feet, over 10 jobs, and really are making a positive economic impact for the region.
13 years takes us back to 2013, of course, and we've had a whole pandemic in the middle. So, a lot of people feel as though we've lost business, especially coming out of the pandemic. How have we stayed in that spot for so long?
Good question. The numbers don't lie. So we've been able to stay in that spot for so long because our economy is just very resilient. We have the #1 most diversified economy in the United States. So that means that no one single industry really dominates. Our largest industries, manufacturing, real estate, transportation, logistics, don't really crowd out the rest of the economy. So that as we've had different things happen over the last 13 years, like the COVID pandemic, our economy has been really able to absorb that and to thrive on that. We saw during COVID, actually, our transportation logistics sector really took off with a lot of new e-commerce and a lot of folks, buying things online. Chicagoland was really able to capitalize on that. So we've been able to kind of capitalize on a lot of the economic change and really thrive throughout that.
And when you talk about economic change, there are several projects that were counted in the 2025 site selection ranking. Let's go over those.
Sure. Yeah. So some of the ones that we're most proud of in 2025, Universal's Horror Unleashed in downtown Chicago is a really good testament to how the city and kind of downtown area is adapting to this post-COVID world of what we call the experiential economy. So new opportunities for people to come downtown and experience Chicago's downtown. Some of our other larger ones in Chicagoland, we had actually this morning we had a press release and the announcement for this news at it's called Theater of the Mind in downtown Chicago, a new, again, kind of experiential what we call a pro-Chicagoland decision, a new experiential business opening up that is a good draw for Chicagoland. We also track projects throughout the Chicagoland metro area. So that's the 7 counties, Chicago plus its collar counties, Lake County, DuPage County, and more. So some of the ones out there include Fortune Brands in Lake County, a new manufacturing facility, as well as Hexaware Technologies elsewhere in Chicago. So really diverse set of businesses, set of industries ranging from manufacturing to professional services to transportation and logistics, really rounding out our top projects in 2025.
Yeah, and I'm sure, if people are looking at a list and they see Amazon or, Hexaware Technologies, they're like, oh, okay. But it is pretty shocking to see a horror exhibit that makes the list. Like, that many people went?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be huge. It's going to create really hundreds of jobs and really measurable economic impact for the city. So we're really excited about that one.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, 400 jobs for horror in the city of Chicago is pretty astounding. How do we continue to grow? How do we continue to diversify moving forward? Because, of course, when you see this, and it sounded, when the mayor was making the announcement this morning, obviously the goal is to stay in that #1 spot, which if everybody sees that you've been in that spot for 13 years, you're the one to beat. So everybody's trying to top you.
Yeah, so that is what World Business Chicago does. We are Chicago and Chicagoland's economic growth agency. So a couple things I'll mention. One is we have a strategic plan that we released in 2025 called Chicago 2050, a plan for economic growth and jobs. That's our strategy to really grow the economy in a measurable, targeted way. We have 9 priority industries, including manufacturing, financial services, and more, quantum, clean energy, industries that are our bedrock and really big opportunities for continued catalytic growth. And that's spans a number of other kind of economic development areas, whether it's workforce and kind of thinking about the future of our workforce, whether it's thinking about our civic community here and making sure that we are continuing to be the best place for businesses to be. Another kind of large part of that 2050 plan is continued investment and cooperation with our regional partners. So working with all of the economic development agencies throughout the Chicagoland region with the Greater Chicagoland Economic Partnership to compete against other metro areas, to compete against other places in the world instead of against each other. So working cooperatively to grow the economy.
Well, 2050 sounds like a long ways away, but of course, if you are in the midst of planning from a business perspective, it's probably feeling like tomorrow in terms of making sure that we're in the right position to stay on top by then. Thank you so much for your time. Great having a conversation with you about wonderful things happening in the city.
Yeah, we're really excited, and we are all in on Chicago. We think it's the best place in the nation and the world to do business. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Certainly hoping that we stay in the top spot. And I said for the city, but of course, it's throughout Chicagoland because some of the businesses that they did list were in Will County, Lake County as well. So we're all in this together. 1:46, let's take a quick break. Everybody, we'll be right back. Give us 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. 1:48 right now, and let's just continue to really celebrate the great things that are happening in our city of Chicago. And the Loop Alliance is doing that through arts and entertainment. They're bringing it in a big way. In fact, they've just unveiled the Loop Arts District. Can't wait to find out more about it from Michael Edwards, the CEO of the Chicago Loop Alliance. Great to have you here on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And especially under these circumstances, sir. Tell me a little bit about addressing this issue that I think pretty much any Chicagoan that's been downtown over the last, few years has really talked about, which is vacant storefronts.
Yeah, we have a few of them on State Street. About half of State Street is vacant, not vacant, but having trouble. The other half is very robust near and around Macy's. But that's true of any downtown across the country. So we're not particularly unique.
So tell me a little bit more about the new plans.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've noticed after the pandemic was that arts and culture is really the secret sauce of the Loop. There's over 90 organizations in all sorts of disciplines that are home in the Loop. And we did a study way back just before the pandemic, and millions, almost billions of dollars are spent on arts and culture in the Loop each year. And so we wanted to kind of really lean into that. And so going forward, we'd like to really position the Loop as not only a business district, but one that's a social district filled with arts and culture and a place where people can live and work and certainly play.
So even though we have seen more revitalization, as you mentioned, on one part of the Loop, so the part that we're around, which would be near Macy's, down to, let's see, the train
Monroe.
line. Yeah, okay. On the other half of it, percentage-wise, I mean, last year's foot traffic, 84% of 2019's traffic right before the pandemic. Tell me about what it's been like to try to get back to those pre-pandemic levels.
Right. So it's been a struggle, but we found that people are coming down on weekends. They're staying later into the evening. Certainly Mondays and Fridays from an office perspective have been greatly impacted with less pedestrian traffic. But at the same time, we have 40 business openings in the Loop. This past year, we have 12 more already scheduled for early 2026. So we kind of think things are happening and people are finding their way back, but people are officing different. There's a new generation of workers in downtown. They don't want to sit in a cubicle like maybe my generation was comfortable doing. They want to be out and about. So it's important that downtown has a lot of offerings besides a nice, highly amenitized office. They need places to go for coffee. They need the place to meet friends. They need places to go for a run. It's more of a lifestyle than it is just a 9-to-5 working destination.
Yeah, and I think your Sundays on State, of course, kind of highlights that. But talk about some of the things that are working.
So what's working is residential. We need more of it, but the city now is underway with over 1,600 units on LaSalle Street, so that's really good. The retail is coming back. We have a new Gap factory on the street. There's talk of Barnes & Noble is coming back. There's talk of other retailers that are finding their way back to State Street. So that's really good. Macy's said that they had a fantastic holiday season and are excited about making new investments in their store and staying vibrant and an active part of State Street. So all of those things are good. And at the same time, 90 arts organizations have realized that they have a certain economic impact that they can leverage in order for all of their businesses to do better. And the beneficiary of all of that, of course, are the citizens of this great city. And the Loop is their downtown, and the Loop Arts District is their place to go for the best in arts and culture in the nation.
There are so many things when it comes to arts and culture in the Loop. How do you enhance that?
Well, I think the experience is one way. And so when people come down, they should have a lot of confidence that they'll find a parking space. They won't have any issues on the train. The train will come on time. The restaurants are not only open, but they have enough staff so that they can feed all of the people that want to go to the restaurant before. It would be great if some of those restaurants were open after, so you could go for a coffee and some cherry pie after you see the great Hubbard dance group at the Harris Theater. The whole experience needs to be a little bit more complete.
Yeah. Are you concerned at all about the effect of, I mean, you mentioned, transportation downtown, State and Lake is closed for 3 years.
Yes, it is. Yes, that is a bit of an issue. However, it's I remember this in college. If it was a good bar, you didn't mind paying the cover charge, right? So what I would say is if people come downtown and there's a great offering like Hamilton, this is opening this week, you don't mind the inconvenience so much because the value of the experience is going to be so great. And so we just need to keep the experiences much higher than some of the inconveniences that might be happening because we're improving the Loop all the time. And in this particular case, as you mentioned, the State and Lake train station.
And you're getting some grant money to be able to do this. I mean, the Loop Alliance, I think you all are a wonderful organization. Talk about how the city, what it's like working with the city to invest in what you all are bringing to the city.
Right, the city's amazing. The people that they have there that are working in the neighborhoods and downtown development, we're very, very proud partners with them. We asked for some help because we were having some significant vacancy issues on State Street, and they came up with $800,000 that will be available over 2 years to try to stimulate more private investment in those vacant storefronts up and down the street. What form that takes? Are they going to be pop-ups? Are we going to put window clings, decorative, artistic window clings? Are we going to do like an incubator and have some of our Sundays on State vendors in like an incubator space on State Street? Those are all to be determined, but the city's given us the resources to do that and to really make a change. At the same time, we're talking to the colleges that are that you referenced earlier that are at the southern end of our district on State Street, just before Ida B. Wells. And DePaul University and the other universities are very interested in making sure that their neighborhood continues to be robust and be a contributing element to their educational offerings. And we think that's pretty important.
Yeah. I think that obviously there's some mutually beneficial aspects of all of this that hopefully everyone can see and want to invest in.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we can only do so much. At the end of the day, we have to put an offering out there that people want to invest in. Our mission statement is to bring people, make the Loop so compelling that people and investors want to make positive decisions in favor of the Loop. So the more we do, the more things that people can experience in a positive way and in a consistently positive way, are all going to be good for the city. And more businesses mean more tax revenue, and more tax revenue means less tax revenue or less tax burden for residents as downtown comes back in a big way.
Nobody has had a conversation about that recently. Not at all. Not at all. No, it has been a very big conversation about vacant storefronts and that burden being passed on to people in local communities. And, so yes, I think, again, mutually beneficial. Everyone can benefit from seeing the Loop and other places downtown start to come back, start to thrive. So we love what we see. Thank you for doing what you do. And please continue to keep us updated. Anytime I'm down there, I'm always like, I become like a child every time I see a new place coming in because really happy to see it.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful rest of your day as well. Thank you for joining me here. It's 1:57, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. I'll set you up for our second hour here on Chicago Live. Hey, welcome back, everyone. It's just about 2 o'clock, so let me tell you a little bit about where we're going in this hour. We're going to focus pretty heavily on the war in Iran and what that means both internationally, what it means here on the home front across the country, and also what it means for the city of Chicago specifically. You know, if you were watching us at the top of our broadcast today, what did we take you to? We took you down to Austin, Texas, where they had a situation over the weekend right after we found out about the war in Iran that took the lives of people in Austin. You know, we're just out for a good night like they typically do, and lost their lives that night, or were injured, or just mentally scarred, what could be for life after surviving a situation like that. And so there are so many questions now that we are in the midst of a war overseas as to what that means for people here at home. So we'll be pulling on several different experts so that we can talk more fully around the full context of this idea of war. It's no longer an idea. We're also going to have a conversation about data centers. That has been a big topic of conversation over the last several months for many communities that have been debating what to do, whether they should embrace them or whether they should fight them. And of course, that decision is different for every locality that has to weigh the pros and the cons of it. So we actually have a special that is airing tonight. Brett Bugansky has been working on that for quite some time, and he's going to be up here speaking about the work that went into this special that's airing tonight. That should be a little bit later on in the hour. We're also going to talk about our weather. So I don't know if the weather will bring around the sunshine of it all that we need right now, but we'll talk a little bit about what we can expect. In fact, can we just take you over to the East Coast and see what they're getting right now? Look at that. Oh my goodness. Looking at the White House, but of course, it's just white everywhere right now as we have snow coming down at a good clip there in Washington, D.C. But maybe if we can look over to the bean, go ahead and juxtapose what we're experiencing here in this. Look at that. Something to be happy about today. In the midst of it all, we have sunshine shining down on us. So hold on to that. It's a little cooler, but hold on to that beautiful sight from our 2800 camera as well. All right, now let's get into the meat of the matter, and that is some hard conversations about things that are going on throughout our country and our world. And our first guest really covers the aspect of domestic security. Greg Sanfilippo is a former member of the NYC Police Force, a Marine Corps veteran who served overseas, and a specialist in law enforcement, intelligence, and counterterrorism. I'm really happy to have him here lending his voice to this discussion right now. It's such a tense time for so many. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
I want to first get your response to even what we watched took place over the weekend, or take place, excuse me, over the weekend in Austin. Shortly after, you know, we found out that we were at war with Iran. You have someone who has become a citizen here in the United States that then takes lives with a shirt that says "Property of Allah." Investigation is still ongoing, so I know you can't get into specifics, but tell me your thoughts in seeing that.
Sure. That instance, in and of itself, regardless of what's going on in the Middle East, is something that, you know, happens rarely, but is so impactful that we need to, you know, have a sense of awareness when we travel. Right? We want to. The best tool is awareness, not fear. But at the same time, you know, we want to understand our surroundings, understand ways in and ways out, looking around, you know, not being so, you know, caught up and not seeing our surroundings, right? And then when a situation like that, we all want to be familiar with the principles behind run, hide, fight. So, you know, understanding, you know, should a threat like that pop up, you know, what are our options? Do we, you know, how do we flee? Which direction? You know, and then if we can't, where do we hide, or a spot to barricade, or or do we have to fight at that point?
Yeah, it is a particularly odd feeling that at this point in time, pretty much anywhere I go, I immediately look for the exits, but I think that is a very American experience at this point.
Regardless, it should be, part of best practices. And so often we're so consumed, myself included, with, where we're going, our next meeting, things about our day, that we tend to, get a little tunnel vision and head to where we're going. But, just from personal safety and situational awareness, understanding, what's around you, what's behind you, ways in and out. Again, not from fear, but just from, a best practice. And, that's something that we can, pass on, right? So it's not just for us. We could talk out to our family members and children about that.
Yeah, first thing this morning, Chicago police put out a notice saying, hey, we have no credible threats at this point in time, but we are on a heightened sense of awareness. Would you think that that's probably something that all metro area police departments are at right now, a heightened level of awareness?
Most definitely. You heard from the federal government where they elevated the threat level. So, what that does is it then triggers a response from major law enforcement, city, state, cities like Chicago, to then, change, some of their protocols based off of that. So, where do they have tactical units? You may see them out in large cities. They may have a vest or a helmet and a rifle. Where are they pre-positioned? Where can they, situate themselves based off of the threat? So are they going to be in front of houses of worship, in front of transit stations, and other infrastructure? So that all changes based off of what's going on around the world.
And so when we see things change around the world, like this war between Iran, the U.S., Israel, the greater regional implications there in the Middle East, what are some of the areas that you would expect, and I mean areas around particular cities, that you would expect to maybe have heightened security for the foreseeable future?
Certainly things that you'll hear described as softer targets, right? Those are things that aren't as hardened, with, as we like to say, guns, guards, or gates, right? So these are things that need to be accessible. So, those you now start to see law enforcement, possibly National Guard, pre-positioning, being out there, being a deterrent, right? So, having them there is good. Someone that's looking to do harm, perhaps go in a different direction, or choose not to attack that particular location, right? So these are the nuances that you'll see. It tends to elevate us, get us a little anxiety up, but really it's meant to reassure, because changing that threat picture is one of the best resources for keeping that location and people at the location safe.
Yeah, and then I think about the aspect of cyber attacks in this generation as well. So
this is an area that you're bringing up that's often overlooked, right? Because we're watching the news, we're seeing horrific visions, and we're worried about our safety and how Iran can directly impact us, and very unlikely to impact us directly due to some sort of military or terrorist operation. But they have a very robust cyber offensive capability. So this is where we really want to limit our exposure online, try to information down offline, whether it's, businesses or your personal information, and you want to make sure that you're up on your passwords, changing your passwords, using multi-factor authentication, and trying to limit our locations, using our phones, which we travel around with so often. It's a convenience sometimes having those factors enabled on your phone, right? Location and things that are making our lives easier. It's also a lot easier for someone looking to do harm to identify you and locate you.
And when you speak about someone looking to do harm, circling back to the top of our conversation and the top of our broadcast, how concerned are you about lone actors? I mean, I've listened to interviews with the Iranian Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister. They've said over and over, we have no capability to hit the U.S. mainland. But there have been echoes of quote-unquote payback for what's happening in Iran right now. So how concerned are you about lone actors?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest threats right now, right? Someone that's just inspired, that's not directed specifically by Iran. We've seen that their leadership capability has been severely degraded with our initial attacks. So you have those people that are just, some sort of, grievance or watching and disturbed over it, and then inspired to do something. So, here, the best defense against that is that old adage, right? See something, say something. It's not only for a suspicious package on a train, it's also for suspicious or elevated behavior, stuff that makes you tingle. And whether it's someone online, putting threats online, or just in conversations, or their behaviors have changed, right? It's not about spying on your neighbor. It's about trying to help them find resources before they get to that point where they're inspired to do some sort of violence. So, those signs, those threat signs, happen, and you see them, and, we hear all too often after the fact, so-and-so, just snapped. Well, the investigation shows they didn't snap. They were showing signs that got ignored.
That is a biggie there. We see that in a lot of different cases for sure. The signs that were overlooked or ignored over time. Greg Sanfilippo, the Vice President of Doyle Security Services in New York. Thank you so much for your time and your conversation on this very, very important topic.
It was my pleasure.
All right, take care. It's about 2:13 right now, and we're going to take a 2-minute break, and then we're going to get into an Iranian voice that we have heard from before, and that is a Chicago constitutional law scholar and legal analyst who was pro the U.S. actually taking action in Iran for quite some time. We spoke to her months ago, and she was hoping that this moment would come. We're going to check back in with her and talk a little bit more about it now that it has taken place. As we await her arrival here on the show, we're also seeing the First Lady, Melania Trump, who is speaking right now at the UN Security Council. So we're going to listen into a bit of this before we go to break.
Conflict during times of both war and peace is significant, must be applied evenly, and should never be carried out lightly. Peace does not need to be fragile. Enduring peace will be achieved when knowledge and understanding are fully valued within all societies. The value placed on education by nations' leaders shape the core of their country's belief system. A nation that makes learning sacred protects its books, its language, its science, and its mathematics. It protects its future. This leads to something powerful, to greater understanding, moral reasoning, and tolerance of others. Peace. Children raised in a culture rooted in intelligence develop confidence, innovate, build, compete, and maintain a deep value system. Their knowledge fosters empathy for others, transcending geography, religion, race, gender, and even local norms. They become caring people. But children raised in culture rooted in ignorance are surrounded by disorder and sometimes even conflict. These societies are filled with rigid thinkers who embrace prejudice and shun human dignity. When a nation restricts thought, it restricts its own future. Education is widely recognized as a fundamental human right, and yet today, so many children and young adults are banned from attending secondary schools and universities. The cost is not abstract. Imagine the loss of potential to our collective humanity, new medical breakthroughs, advancement in food security, groundbreaking technologies, all gone. A society that excludes vast segments of its population can realize only a fraction of its potential.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:18, and like I said, we're kind of shifting our focus in terms of the overall picture of the war in Iran to another voice who lends a different perspective. Pegah Boni Hashemi is joining me now. She is a UChicago constitutional law scholar and legal analyst. Thank you so much for joining me yet again.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Appreciate the opportunity to follow up with you, quite honestly, because the last time we spoke, there were what we'll say rumors of war, and now we are in a war with Iran along with Israel. Give me your reaction to the news on Saturday morning.
Honestly with you, it was very shocking. However, I think many of us were expected to what's going on the next level, and the war was not surprising completely, but the timing was surprising, and also in first hours. In first few hours, basically, we heard about the Ayatollah Khamenei death. Also, it was quite very surprising for all of us.
Speak a little bit more about the timing.
It's actually, someone said something that is very interesting. I would like to just bring that quote that someone from the Iran, from my family said, we are at a situation before the war happened. We are at a situation that we are scaring to have a war. Also, we are scaring to not have a war. After that repression that has happened, like 1,000 of the people died or killed by the regime, it was a situation that basically we could see many of people believe that they don't have enough power to go for the regime change. Therefore, for that matters, it was a moment that basically many of the people, I can say, they really had feeling maybe this time we need some kind of foreign country to come and help us for this transitional time. But of course, war is a war, and at the moment, for example, I know that Tehran was under a bombing for last night continuously. And it's, of course, it's very scary for the people inside the country as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of, okay, the broader region, this started with attacks in Iran, but very quickly it turned into really the entire region having conflict. Could you foresee that if there was an attack on Iran, it would immediately go into a broader regional conflict?
Yeah, I mean, that is something that we all expected to happen. First of all, that former supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei, said it out loud that if the war going to be happen, it would be a region war. And then, so that was obvious for all of us, and we could expect that. But the massive attacking to every single country in Persian Gulf country, it was also again surprising. For example, many countries that they had a good relationship with the regime of Iran for last 4 decades. Regime of Iran also bombing them as well. I mean, we could expect it regarding the Saudi Arabia, but I think many people expected to not happen anything, for example, to Qatar or to Oman. So I think this is how it was shocking for us. But, I mean, the things is, it seems the regime of Iran, the people who try to basically keep the regime, they really try to put maximum effort to keep the regime. And for that reason, they are trying to bombing the other countries and showing them if the regime of Iran going to be changed, you are not going to be safe too.
There are a few things that you just touched on that I would like to expound on. One, the fact you quoted the Ayatollah, and if he is deceased, killed, and his orders are still carried out, what does that tell you about regime change, this call for regime change in the region?
I actually like this question. That's a very important question. The thing is, I just published an article also regarding the legacy of the Ayatollah Khamenei. And at that article, I explain, and now I can emphasize that removing one supreme leader from the regime of Iran system is not meaning that the regime change is going to be happen, definitely. Regime of Iran is existed with many layers of the politician and also the other ayatollahs. So for that reason, it's not a guarantee exactly to killing the Ayatollah Khamenei is bring a good democracy right now. We need to change many institution rules in Iran. We need to change many laws in Iran, and also we need to change many politicians that they were involved of this dictatorship for last 4 decades. This is the perspective that I, as a constitutional scholar, I can say, if we don't change that things, it's possible that basically we are keep going with this dictatorship for maybe next decade.
The American, the U.S. delegation has said they're calling on the people of Iran to take this moment to take their country back. How difficult is that? I mean, I would think for a regime that has an 86-year-old leader who has cancer, you've already mapped out your succession plan. I don't know how deep that is, even if the president says 40 to 50, top leaders were all taken out at the same time or over the course of the weekend. I don't know how deep the succession is, and it is the person who was already thought to be the successor still alive.
I'm thinking personally that when the bombing going to be finished, that would be a very good moment for the people who really wanted to take the institution and take the be a candidate for this transitional time. And also, that outside the country we have one leader that many people basically do believe to him, Crown Prince Pahlavi. He is the other basically potential candidate that could be come inside the Iran and maybe trying to be a bridge between the current regime to the future regime. But also I do believe that we have many political activists and social activists, included Nasrin Sotoudeh, Narges Mohammadi, Nobel Peace Prize, that also they can come and talk about their future plan and bring up some plans for the future. What's the first should be happen definitely is the regime people being much more weak or killed by this bombing, and then maybe the regime change could be happen easier. In fact, something that is very scary for me and for many other people I know, it's if they somehow they could stay in their position, then that would be very difficult for people of Iran, because also they had many harsh repression recently. They saw the war, and then for the future also they can still see the regime didn't change even after the war, which is that could be the one of the worst case scenario that we are scared of that.
I would think that would be such an empty feeling that all of this happens for especially those people who were protesting not too long ago to see the U.S. and Israel take this action, and then nothing changes for them in the aftermath. I could just see that kind of being a depleting feeling. And would the Crown Prince then act as royalty, or what type of position would he then have moving forward if he turns out to be the leader in the future?
Right, that's again very good question. He emphasized many times that he doesn't looking forward to be a next king of Iran. However, many people would like to bring back the monarchy. That is very big, challenging ideas between the many of Iranian. That some of them would like to have a Republican for the system of the country in the future, and some of them believe that the monarchy is the best system for the future. Whatever is going to be happen, I do believe that he could be a good potential leader for the future, and he emphasized that he could be the temporary leader for now until basically the referendum happening, and then people coming and during the election choosing monarchy or Republican or any other good democracy system for the future. And then for the future, basically, they are a people inside the Iran, and they're all Iranians that should find out their route for the future and for the democracy. And for that purpose, basically, he's happy to step down. However, in other side, I should also emphasize that many people do believe that when he take a place, there is a risk that maybe he doesn't want to step down, even if the election, for example, turn out as a not having a monarchy for the future. But I think that's very far from now, from the day that basically just I would like to bring these matters. We don't have a Iran regime shut down the internet again, shut down the lines, all lines, phone lines, home lines, and at the moment, for example, we cannot talk to our family via the internet or something. Also, people are very suffering to not have internet because they would like to see, for example, which area or which street or which county is under the bombing right now. And social media would be very helpful at this situation. So for that matter, matters. Also, I would like to say changing a regime is is a plan that is going to be happen in the next step. But for now, I think this is the much more important that we make sure the people who were involved of this dictatorship regime, they are going to be abolished from the system.
I'm asking questions from you as an expert on a couple of different aspects of this, and I want you as a constitutional law scholar to address people's concerns that this is an illegal war.
I mean, you know, but how could I say it's a war, and I suppose no one wants to war happen. War always, bombing is not a friendly feature for the people, for the human being, for the earth, for environment system. That is, I think, is a no question for people around the world. But also, some people believe that for example, this is the time that sometimes by the human rights matters, by the people's matters, maybe this war could happen to helping the people to basically take back their power of the democracy. But you know, this is really literally very difficult and challenging subject. I just try to basically bring to subject of the matters, and for your information and for your audience information, there is lots of fight regarding these matters between the Iranian inside and outside. But you know, I would like to bring these matters when I'm talking to many of my family and friends inside the Iran. Some of them really believe that they really wanted to this war happen, and it was very makes me, for example, sad, because I know they are living under bombing, and I can say, look at how the one regime and how one of the minority of the Iranian people can bring a situation for the others that they believe that to be under the bombing, to be on this war, that would be better to be beside of this regime. And that's very sad story if you look at that very carefully. So I think, and also many other people believe that the war doesn't bring any peace in the future, and it should be happen. Anyway, whatever people would like or wouldn't like, I think the war happened, and what is the next step that majority of the Iranian people would like to be happen is the people who suffered us for many decades, people who stolen our money from the oil selling, they should go away.
Okay, all right. That is Pegah Boni Hashemi, you Chicago constitutional law scholar and legal analyst. We appreciate being able to pull you into this discussion again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. It is 2:32, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll get to our next guest. I believe it's our own Brett Bugansky, who has just stepped into Studio 32, so stand by. All right, welcome back, everyone. 2:35, Brett Bugansky here because he has a special airing tonight about a topic that so many localities are having to take up over the last several months especially, and that is data centers.
Data centers, whether you like it or not, they're here
Pros
to
and
stay,
cons.
and it looks like there's going to be more of them popping up all throughout Chicagoland. And there's, matter of fact, one here just maybe about a mile or two away, right by McCormick Place. So we had an interesting tour with them recently, so that's coming up on a different report that I'm going to be filing in just a little bit. But
Okay.
let's talk about how we got here. We look at our phones here. You got your computer here. We all have our tablets. Everybody has social media. We have FaceTime. We have the rise of AI. All of these things here play a role into technology, and there's a big misunderstanding or misconception about where you store all this information. We keep hearing the cloud. And in fact, when you go and you buy, if you run out of
yes.
memory on your phone, they'll say, hey, you could purchase this amount of data. Well, it's got to go somewhere. It has to be stored in a facility. And a lot of these places are holding just lots and lots of data when it comes to how you're storing everything. So this is why you're seeing a lot of them there. But the big concern for a lot of them is not only the noise, potential pollution, but the fact that so many of these data centers are going in neighborhoods, near schools. And one of the interviews that we had was the guy saying, look, we are building them here because this is where the majority of people are living, and it would be very, very timely and a lot easier to put the data centers near areas where you have a considerable amount of people, because if you're streaming, let's say, a Netflix show, it would be better to have the information in an area where you're going to be located rather than thousands upon thousands of miles away, because we don't want any interruptions to your Netflix streaming.
Are
now,
they
do
saying
we?
it's going to speed up things?
It would be easier if you had it in that area. That's what they're coming from, is that it would be easier to move things right where people are located. So that's why you're seeing more of these data centers popping up, because we've even seen one proposal in Hobart, Indiana. This is in undeveloped land, wetlands area, what Amazon is proposing. But there's a lot of unknowns here. Some have said that there could be 5 buildings. Others have said there could be up to 25 buildings. It offers a lot of incentives. We're talking about jobs, billions of dollars in investment, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Those are the other concerns there. But to kind of go over what you were talking about earlier about why you would put the data center there, it would be a lot easier and faster if you had it in the concentration of areas where people are actually living rather than in a third world country where that's going to be so far away, and then you could have some potential with everything loading and playing at the right speeds.
So, in each community, I don't know if I've seen a community that's just readily, easily, but eagerly accepted these as of yet. Were you able to talk to people who were like, hey, we want this, or were most people pretty hesitant about it?
From the times that I've been at city council meetings, whether that's in Hobart, Indiana, or some of these listening sessions in Aurora, even though there is a minimum amount of people who show up to these council meetings saying, yes, we would like these data centers, because it does offer investment, it does offer a lot of jobs, there's still the unknown, because these are sort of new things.
Yeah.
And these started popping up, let's just say Cyrus 1 in the city of Aurora, that got approved back in 2017. We interviewed a woman who lives about 1,000 feet from one of these data centers. Talk about unintended consequences here. This was something that offered jobs, offered investment, but at what cost? She was telling us that in the middle of the night, she wakes up from some of the generators going because they're operating at all hours of the night. That is a big concern. There was also a big concern about what that does for the environment and some of the health concerns, because, again, there is this unknown of what is going to happen if there is this long-term exposure to some of these data centers, because some of these things are running on biodiesel fuel, which has been a big concern about what it's doing to the environment. So you have seen other companies offering some greener alternative measures to have these data centers operating here, but because there's so many of these being popped up and they're proposing them all over the place, there is a rising demand, and people are concerned if they're going to be living next to one of these data centers, what is it going to do for them and their families, but also what is this going to do to property values? Because there is a concern of living next to one of them, and people are saying, look, I'm already paying so much in property taxes and everything like that. If I want to move away from one of these, will my home values go down? These are all major, major concerns no matter where you go.
Well, and then there's the concern about, some of your bills may be going up.
That is another big concern because of the use. When you look at these data centers, you're talking about an unprecedented amount of electricity use. You're looking at a lot of water consumption here. And some of the bills that we are seeing, not only in Springfield, but also in some of these ordinances that we're seeing in Aurora, Naperville, Lisle, Hobart, Indiana, they want to know how much water are they using, how much electricity are they using, because they do take up a significant amount of power, and the majority of the time, that cost ends up going to other different utility providers or customers, if you will, and the taxpayers. So these are all big money concerns because affordability, yes, affordability continues to be another big topic when it comes to the rise of data centers. How much am I paying? Is this fair? And they're offering tax incentives for some of these places where they are paying either zero property taxes, they're paying nothing for the utilities, and they're plugging in to the grid that we all pay to, saying, wait a minute, why do I have to pay and they don't? They can afford it. I'm struggling with my bills. Once again, all big concerns here.
Yeah, so we saw like Naperville, the people fought it tooth and nail. Aurora, it seemed like the city was trying to say, hey, wait, let's come back to the table and find some solutions that work for everyone. What ended up happening, though?
So we have a moratorium that actually expires at the end of this month. So what that did was almost 180 days ago, they said, all right, let's take a pause because there are now 4 data centers operating. The biggest one is Cyrus One, which is going to be highlighted in our special report tonight. And they want to say, let's take a pause. Let's figure out what kind of solution we could be, because we want to have some some certainty about what people can do, what are going to be the potential legal consequences, how much am I going to have to pay for my electrical bills, my utility bills, water consumption. They want to be able, if they are going to build data centers, they want to have some certainty into, are they paying their fair share, and is there going to be a check and balance in how much energy they take up, because they certainly don't want to have most of these utility costs being brought on to their residents. But again, it's sort of a catch-22, because you have billions of dollars in investment. They do bring jobs. How many, that kind of depends on the project, but these are all big debates that we are seeing at these city council meetings, and it's even resulted in a lawsuit. You look at Hobart, Indiana, at this Amazon proposed site right over there at, I believe it's 52nd or 56th in Oklahoma there. Many people are not happy about this, and when you had dozens and dozens of people speaking against and only 2 people for it, some people feel like their representatives have let them down, and that's why some are even proposing that when they come to next year, when they have the city council elections, some of the people who have supported this, they are already telling them, we're going to vote you out of office.
And I'm thinking, when we moved the discussion to Indiana, those are folks who are already upset about their electricity bills.
This is where we're talking about NIPSCO, and another report that we had on Friday was talking about the Chicago Bears and utility bills. One of the big things is that you have tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people, who have shown up to some of these protests, and some people who have reached out to us here at Fox Chicago about, can I get some help on my utility bills? And the state is essentially not offering them any sort of immediate financial relief. Meanwhile, they're offering up to $1 billion in tax subsidies to the Chicago Bears. So I don't. One issue, again, it has nothing to do with the other, but everything is interrelated when it comes to affordability and what state governments are doing, what municipalities are doing to try to get some of that big business to come to their community.
And it's always been looked at as, Indiana is a state that has a lighter tax burden, but now that we're having these conversations about the stadium development there, people are like, no, wait a minute.
How do you think it all works? That's the thing, is that as much as they would love to get that win, the big victory by landing the Chicago Bears there. Now, how do you think it all works? Nothing is free, and they're going to have to there's going to be a lot of use taxes if the Chicago Bears decide to build in, let's say, Hammond, Indiana. They got to pay for it somehow, and some people feel like they've sold out their residents in order to get the big victory to get the Chicago Bears potentially. But that's another story for another day, because
so many
Illinois,
different things. Yeah.
Illinois is still trying to get them to build on the site that they already own, which is in Arlington Heights at the former Arlington Park Racetrack.
So many different things to come together for your report tonight. I know you've been working on it for a while. So when can we see it?
You will see it tonight on Fox Chicago. I believe it's 4 and 5 tonight.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you on that. Above my pay grade.
Shoot me a text, okay,
Everyone,
before we get out of here.
But I'll tell you what, you could see the big version right now at our website, Fox 32 Chicago, where we've had just big, up-to-date things about Naperville, Aurora, Lisle, and of course, down the road, we're going to be talking about data center right here in Chicago, which is just steps away from McCormick Place. You probably didn't even know it was even there, but is considered sort of the lifeline, if you will, of other data centers all across the United States, especially right here in Chicago.
Okay, that is what you call a professional tease, everyone. We need to make sure that we tune in this evening so we can see it. Thank you, Brett, for coming up.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Appreciate it. It's 2:45, everybody. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 2:48 right now, and we are rolling right through the show, especially this hour. But if you're driving through or in Skokie, you might want to pump your brakes a little bit as of today. Really yesterday, but starting a new week now. The speed limit on most residential streets in Skokie has dropped to 25 miles per hour. So I want to talk about that with the senior engineer there in Skokie, Samantha Maximilian. Thank you so much for being here with me on Chicago Live.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about the decision-making process to make this change.
Well, so, the Village of Skokie updated the default 30 mile per hour speed limit down to 25 miles per hour, really based on neighborhood driving behavior, that what we saw in our engineering studies, but really to also provide an additional level of traffic safety.
And so most of these streets, you said, were at 30 miles per hour, so we're not talking really about a significant change when you look at it from that perspective?
Correct. Yeah, the state default speed limit was 30 miles per hour, but when we're looking at residential streets, we're really wanting to reinforce what a safe driving behavior is in the residential streets. But even 5 miles per hour can definitely improve safety in the residential streets, especially where you might see, families walking around or children playing and or bicyclists bicyclists in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, every time you have a reduction, it obviously increases the mortality. Honestly, the livability from any incidents that do take place. So, did you all go through like listening sessions or council sessions that were open for public input going into this?
Well, I would say when we're talking about traffic safety, I mean, that is always a topic of concern, that we have gotten over the years from our residents, how do we make Skokie Street safer? There's always a concern of speeding. So we're really, listened to our residents when they reached out and evaluated the speed limit that it was currently set at. And this was really a data-driven decision by looking at, what is the current driving behavior and what are some modifications just by providing consistency and setting a consistent speed limit throughout Skokie on our residential streets, that could help provide that benefit.
Yeah. Do you think that this will be difficult for police or law enforcement to really enforce?
So what we saw with our traffic study was that really 96% of our drivers were already going at or below 25 miles per hour. So we don't see that as adding a burden to our police department. We're really just trying to provide, reinforcement on the expectation of a safe driving behavior within the residential streets. And in areas where, we might see some issues, that'll be the main focus of where enforcement will be. But again, our main focus right now is the public education piece. Just to kind of remind drivers of what a safe speed limit is.
Mm-hmm. What would you say walkability is like, or even for cyclists, what the experience generally is like from those who are out and about in Skokie on a regular basis?
Obviously, when you slow vehicles down, that provides more of a comfortable walking and bicycling environment for, all modes of pedestrian activity. Again, this is really just bringing the awareness to what a safe driving behavior is. And also, when you bring the speeds down, even by 5 miles per hour, it can actually increase your reaction time in which a driver is, when they're driving down on a street, that they will be able to see a pedestrian or a bicyclist. So, there is definitely a traffic safety benefit to both the drivers and the pedestrians.
That's a really good point that I pointed out, like survivability for the person or people who may be on the road in terms of a pedestrian or cyclist. But you pointed out the reaction time for somebody who is behind the wheel. And that is a really good point, that maybe it gives them a little bit more time to, stop themselves or slow down before an incident even takes place.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about the discussion around this topic. Have people generally embraced it? This is the generation that would immediately let you know about things online. So have you all been getting feedback from people? I know this is still new, but and you all are still getting the word out. But thus far, does it seem like people are appreciative of this?
Yeah, I would say, we definitely have gotten great feedback from our residents. And, we really launched this kind of Beach Hill Slow Down campaign starting last summer. And when we were out in our community events, I think, we got a lot of like you kind of said, was appreciation and, thankfulness from residents on acknowledging that, hey, great, we're going to be more in line with our neighbors, our other municipal neighbors who already have speed limits set at 25 miles per hour. So kind of just, bringing Skokie up to speed per se, but, we've gotten great feedback from our residents.
You mentioned that the campaign started months ago. So what were some other elements of the campaign before you got to actually lowering the speed limit this weekend?
So first pass was taking it to our board. There were 2 board meetings in which this was presented. And so that really kind of laid out our study. Police department was heavily involved in kind of coordinating how, the rollout would be. But really focusing on our education campaign, we created a Spotify playlist for the summer for Slow Down, Be Chill, and continue to provide information on our social media and on our websites and our quarterly newsletters, in which we kind of just continue to provide the continuing education on the rollout of this.
Okay, wait a minute. I need to know what was on the playlist. What were some songs for Slow Down, Be Chill?
So Beach Boys is definitely on that playlist, but I'm sure the link to that Spotify playlist is on our website. But definitely no Beach Boys were on that.
What Beach Boys song?
I don't remember right now. I'd have to pull up the playlist. But you could definitely find it on Spotify under Be Chill, Slow Down.
I was just trying to think, there are certain songs, true story. There are certain songs that when you listen to them, they have an up-tempo beat, and it does make you press a little harder on the gas. And you find yourself, you're like, whoa, like, well, let me tap on the brakes a little bit, but you just got caught up in the music. So I would really want to know, like, what are the songs that go with the Be Chill, Slow Down slogan? Would it be like Sade? I don't know. Something to get people to say, like, oh, I'm chill. This is good. Let me just take my time today. Well, we certainly appreciate having you here on the show. Thank you so much, Samantha, for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we certainly hope that people will be taking heed to the now 25 mile per hour speed limit in Skokie. Don't get caught going over that. All right. 2:57, everyone. Let's take a quick break. Think about some more tunes that kind of chill us out. We could all use a little more chill in the world. And we'll be right back in 2 minutes. right, welcome back, everyone. Getting ready for our 3 o'clock hour here, and let me tell you a little bit about where we are going in this hour. One of our most searched topics on our website, fox32chicago.com, is about Pulaski Day. People wanting more information about it. So we've put in a few calls, and we're going to have a conversation a little bit later on in the hour with the president of the Polish Museum of America. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I think, sometimes we hear about like, oh, one of the search topics was, is it a holiday in Illinois? And then another person asking, or another group of people asking, what is Pulaski Day? So we'll all kind of get a little educational experience today before we get out of here. That should be around 3:45 that we have the president of the Polish Museum of America. I was telling my coworkers that I remember having a conversation with one of my cabbies maybe last year, and it turned into an educational experience in the cab where he was kind of telling me about how many Polish people are here in the city of Chicago, and that it's actually the largest population of Polish people outside of Poland. I couldn't believe it, but we're going to talk more about it a little bit later on in the hour. We're also going to talk about a grant that's going to help a lot of people who are in health, in the health industry, those who are up and coming, professionals in the health industry. This Health Catalyst Chicago, that's now the inaugural winner of the Chicago Talent Challenge, and so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Millions that are going to help with people in the health industry. But we're starting here with a great topic, and it's going to take us to maybe an unconventional location here, I guess you could say. The Joliet Slammers have announced that they are now going to have tickets for the big House Ballgame. That's for March 11th. It's called the Night Train Veek. And the owner of the Joliet Slammers is joining me now. His grandfather was Bill Veek, who owned the White Sox and was known for their great promotions that they had. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a little unconventional indeed, but we're going to have some fun with it.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so let's just put it out there. Where is this going to be?
So it's going to be at the old Joliet Historic Prison, right in Joliet. And yeah, like I said, it's a little unconventional, but it's got a lot of baseball history. And we've found that as we've gone along. And one of the biggest things was, having sports as a rehabilitation piece for people that were incarcerated there. So we wanted to bring some of the joy back. And of course, this was the best way we knew how, by throwing a big baseball game to celebrate Route 66.
Aha, yes. Okay, so still a part of the Route 66 celebrations that have been taking place or will be taking place throughout the year. Tell me how the conversation came to putting this together.
Absolutely. So Greg Peerbolt, the CEO over at the prison, and I, a great person, and he loves thinking outside the box, just as you can see. Started talking quite some time ago, and some people had brought it up along the way, and we figured, what better way to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the famous road than by putting a ball game and a big party in Joliet, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So hopefully kicking off the centennial celebration in style, and we thought, the next time there's another 100 years that go by, none of us will be around, so why not do it right?
Well, there's that, you have some great names that are attached to this. A blues singer, Billy Branch, Joliet native, one of my favorites to see around this area, Cheryl Youngblood is also going to be with you, and several others. So tell us a little bit about the experience overall.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great day. We were so excited to hear that we could include them. Fans will be able to see pregame, postgame performances. Obviously, there'll be the baseball, but there's a big connection to music and to blues, and we wanted to highlight that as well. So in tandem with the State Centennial Commission and our partners at the City of Joliet, we're going to bring those acts in and have a concert postgame too. So should be great vibes. We'll have obviously the baseball game, and anybody that needs to get out for a 3:05 first pitch will have a doctor's note from us too if they need to play a little hooky.
I love it. Tell me about carrying on this beautiful legacy of your grandfather, Bill Veek.
Yeah, it's a hard one to do sometimes, and being able to bring a new idea to the table at our tables sometimes tough. But nobody had played in a prison before, so it seemed pretty natural to me. This was another way that we could just show Joliet and all of our fans we're about thinking outside of the box and celebrating the occasion. And this was another way to kind of extend the branch on the tree, so to speak.
This is outside of the box for sure. How many people can be there? Like, what is the capacity?
However many the fire marshal will let us. Is my answer. No, we're looking at close to a Slammers game in terms of attendance. We're still obviously operationally putting everything together, but it'll be thousands. It'll be thousands of people, and we've got a GA ticket. We've got a bleachers that we're going to be bringing in, so there'll be a bleacher ticket too, and then some VIP tickets as well. So we should have enough room for everybody.
And how do you prepare that grass, that field?
Very carefully is the answer. We've been actually starting to prepare since last year, and looking at the field. There's a lot that's serviceable grass there. So our friends at Sports Fields, they are getting the grass ready and obviously making sure we're gonna have to laser grade everything and build a mound and all the good stuff that allows us to play a professional baseball game on there. So they've been doing a great job, and we're hoping to take care of a good window in the weather soon.
Talk a little bit more about this Route 66 Centennial and the connection there, but also just how important this year is for this celebration.
It's huge, and I underestimated it, quite frankly. There's 6 cities that are participating across the country, and Joliet gets to be number 1. And like I mentioned before, that doesn't happen very often, and we wanted to do something special. But the part that I really underestimated is just the interest and the people all across the world. I think in working on this and talking with the prison, they've had people from 6 continents view their tours and all of the museum part of it. And it's been really great to see. So I think this is something that needed to be special to commemorate the history and to really do it justice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I've got to know more about your name. Night Train Vec. How did it come about?
That's the one. I think my dad played all of his cards early and often on the one, and I don't know if he was right in an argument ever since that day, but he wanted to name me something that wouldn't get me picked last for any baseball teams, and after the great Night Train Lane, who played on the Detroit Lions. So here I am.
Oh, this is what is on your birth certificate.
Yeah. It's made official paperwork. Sometimes a little bit funny. He's underestimated that part, but you know what? We made it through.
Some people would think like, oh, is this like an entertainment name? Did he change his name? That kind of. This is on your birth certificate. Wow. Okay. And I love the connection to another sports team.
Yeah. I mean, I figure if Meta World Peace can do it, then so can I.
Now, talk about how you're going to promote. Obviously, being here on this show today, you're promoting it, but you have a family history of some wild promos. So how are you going to really promote this game, this big house ball game?
Anywhere and everywhere that we can. We've been I think we made the announcement in December and continuing that along. We're in the pre-sale phase now. So if anybody's interested, jolietslammers.com/BHBG. Throw in your info there, and we're going to be having the public on sale on March 11th, like you mentioned. But anywhere and everywhere, we've already got a pre-sale going for our season ticket holders that we're just entering the first phase of, and then museum members. So we're just getting the word out, and it's been really well received so far. So we've been lucky.
All right. Tell me about the Joliet Slammers and what is expected this season.
good team on the field, good team off the field, and we're expecting a lot of fun. I think to be able to kick it off with the big house game, obviously, and then opening our gates on May 8th, I think I've been excited since first week of September of last year. So it's going to be a big one for us. We've got some fun promotions on the calendar that we're going to be actually announcing tomorrow. So keep an eye out there. And we've got a mystery one on the calendar again. So we always have a few tricks up our sleeve.
Promotions tomorrow. I mean, man, we're talking today. You can't leak one out.
Oh, it's going to be a big week. It's going to be a big week for us. I can't. I got to stay tight-lipped. Otherwise, it's never going to go according to plan.
Okay, and let me ask you also, is there a matchup on this schedule that you're looking to most?
That's a good question. You know what? Opening day, I think opening day has always got to be the big one for us in the biz. It shakes all the dust off. The winter's gone. The summer's here. It should be a national holiday in my eyes. But I think I'm looking at Gateway, the Gateway Grizzlies. I'm interested to see. We're bringing them to play against in the big house game, and hoping maybe we make a little bit of a rivalry out of it, a rivalry on Route 66.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we certainly want everyone to make some plans for March 11th and to be there for this, again, very unconventional, but sounds like super fun game, the Big House Ballgame, and so much more that will eventually, maybe over the next 24 hours, find out will be rolled out for us for this season. Night Train, thank you so much for joining me here on Chicago Live.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to it. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. It's about 3:12 right now. I love finding out kind of the backstory on the name. That was very interesting. I really did think it was like an entertainment name, but it was like, oh, this is what's on your birth certificate. All right now. Night Train Vec, the owner of the Joliet Slammers. Really appreciated his conversation. It's 3:12. Let's take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's just about 3:15, and in a time when so many organizations and businesses have talked about being really cash-strapped, essentially, it's really heartwarming to see the organizations and businesses that are getting grants to continue their mission forward. And in particular, this grant is an inaugural grant, so it makes it that much more special here, an investment to accelerate the training, placement, and success of workers in critical healthcare roles. So I want to bring in Andrew Beidman, the Chief Strategy Officer for the Pritzker-Traubert Foundation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I think this is awesome on so many different levels. Tell me about being an inaugural winner for this, or giving this for the first time.
Sure. So our foundation, Pritzker-Traubert Foundation, has been invested in creating workforce opportunity here in the city of Chicago for over 20 years. But we're really proud today to unveil our inaugural recipient for something we're calling the Chicago Talent Challenge, which is a $5 million investment in a great idea to connect as many Chicagoans as possible with great jobs here in our city. And our inaugural recipient is an initiative called Health Catalyst, which we think is a groundbreaking partnership between City Colleges of Chicago and Cook County Health that's going to work to fill some of the most in-demand jobs at Cook County Health with great City Colleges talent. They're going to place about 1,000 people in just 3 years, and over the long run, we'll be placing as many as 400 a year into great first jobs in the healthcare industry. So this is our first Chicago Talent Challenge, our first Chicago Talent Challenge recipient, and we could not be more excited about where this process has landed and to be partners with City Colleges and Cook County Health in this work.
How did you make the selection?
It was a long process. So one of the things we do a lot here at Pritzker-Traubert Foundation is open calls. We're firm believers that the best ideas to solve problems in our city here in Chicago are not found in this office tower. They're really found out in communities led by leaders who know the problem they're trying to solve. And so we issued Chicago Talent Challenge as an open call across our city to look for great ideas for how to connect folks with opportunity. We're pleased to share that more than 50 teams applied, representing over 200 organizations from across Chicagoland. And the process was intense, and it was rigorous, and really competitive. And we were fortunate to have a great team of expert advisors that helped us winnow down to eventually selecting Health Catalyst as our first recipient.
And when you are making the selection, I mean, what made them stand out above the rest?
I would point to three things. One is just the scale. As I mentioned, they're going to be placing about 1,000 people over the next 3 years, and because of the really creative way that they built this partnership, they'll be able to sustain that level of impact for many years to come. And we think in a moment like this in our city, we need to be thinking big and looking for ideas that can really move the needle in the communities of our city that have been overlooked. So scale will be the first thing. I think second was the sustainability. Because this is a partnership of two really big institutions, they were able to be really creative in the ways that they used Pritzker-Traubert Foundation resources to stand up the Health Catalyst initiative and do so in a way that allows them to make internal investments, unlock additional resources that can help them sustain this work over the long run without the need for ongoing grant. And so I would highlight that sustainability piece too. And I think third is the leadership. We're fortunate to have two incredible leaders at the helm of City Colleges in Chancellor Salgado and Cook County Health in Dr. Eric Makaitis, who have a big vision for their organizations and a big vision for how their organization can work with others. And so for those three reasons, this was a really compelling and I think differentiated idea, and we're really excited to see where this goes.
And you transitioned into what I wanted to ask you about next, which is like, where does this go? I mean, you all have started with a high bar.
We certainly did, and we're very fortunate in Chicago that it you put out these open calls, you're almost always inundated with really remarkable ideas. I think there's two sort of places. I think one of the other reasons we've been so excited about Health Catalyst is it's really about creating infrastructure that can support many employers as they start to think about how to use City Colleges talent to grow their businesses, to drive value in our city. And so our one hope and aspiration of where this work goes is that it'll be a springboard to bring other employers and hospitals to the table to take advantage of the great talent that's coming out of our city colleges in Chicago. I think the second direction is we launched Chicago Talent Challenge around health jobs because we knew that in this moment, that is where a lot of the hiring is happening. That's where there's a lot of great career opportunity, and there's a lot of great leaders in our city thinking about how to connect workers to roles in that space. We also structured the Chicago Talent Challenge process to be adaptive. We think it's really important that as a city, we're investing in workforce pathways that lead to great jobs, and what those great jobs look like and where to find them changes from year to year. And so I think our hope is we will do a next Chicago Talent Challenge, and that may be in healthcare, but it may be in some other space where we see a lot of unmet demand or a lot of untapped opportunity for the communities we're focused on.
And the workforce focus on for the foundation really comes from Penny Pritzker. Tell me a little bit about that background.
Of course. So we deeply believe that it's an obligation of our foundation, an obligation of our city to advance opportunity for as many Chicagoans as possible. And at the core of that is our belief that a job is a very powerful tool to help folks find their way to economic prosperity, to help folks find their way to family supporting wages. That's good for the person, it's good for their family, it's good for their communities, and it's good for their city. And Penny and our foundation has been focused on this issue for decades now, whether in the earliest iterations of the Pritzker-Chauber Foundation, Secretary Pritzker's leadership at the Department of Commerce in Washington, D.C., her leadership as the business person, and now this new chapter of our work here at the foundation. So there's a through line here, I think, around a sense of commitment to Chicago and a belief that Chicago's future really depends on our ability to connect our neighbors with great opportunities, with great employers here in our city.
Mm-hmm. So do you see this as being an annual grant, or like how long before you all do all of this all over again?
That's a great question. And I think it's one we're still trying to figure out. I think we're really excited about today's announcement, and I think really inspired by the depth and breadth of leadership that we can find in every corner of our city. And so I think we're going to try to sort of figure out the next one as soon as we can, but I think the timing we're still sorting out.
What was the reaction from the inaugural winners?
The feedback has been incredibly positive, and I think what is so exciting about this inaugural recipient is no doubt that we've got great leaders, and this is a great workforce opportunity for the folks that are participating in this program. One of the things that's so exciting to us about the healthcare space and this idea in particular is that it's really not just about jobs. Certainly there's great jobs there, but the ability of Cook County Health and our partners in healthcare industry to provide great care in a moment of great need, to provide great care that is culturally competent, to provide great care to everyone in our city, regardless of means, we think is really, really important, particularly in this moment. And so for us, this was I don't want to say a no-brainer, but certainly a great twofer in that we were able to both create great opportunity for residents in our city, but also importantly help stabilize and support some of our most important healthcare providers in this moment.
Yeah, and I touched on it a bit in my intro to you. You touched on it a bit there, but let's talk a little bit more about the why now of it all.
We think this is a really vital moment in health, and that's in two ways. One is open up any newspaper, reporting of this station, really anywhere. It's very clear that health is the place where the hiring is happening. And from the perspective of our foundation, which is focused on connecting our neighbors to great jobs, it's an obvious place to focus. I think it's also true that the healthcare industry is going through some really transformative changes right now, including shifts to some of assumptions about how this work gets funded and who pays for it. One of the things that was so exciting to us about Health Catalyst is not only does it create great jobs, not only does it create opportunities for residents to be a part of providing health in their neighborhoods, there's also a really interesting business model piece to this. Right now, because Cook County Health has so many critical care vacancies, they rely on agencies to fill many of those roles. That typically costs about 50% more than it would be to hire somebody off the street. And so not only is this program going to create a great on-ramp for folks to get into great first jobs, in the healthcare industry. It's going to create real savings for Cook County Hospital in a moment when they need those savings, that they can reinvest in this program and other priorities of the organization. So for those reasons, it made a lot of sense to us to focus on this space. And again, I feel like a broken record, but it's one of the reasons we're so excited about Health Catalyst as our inaugural recipient.
And stay there, because I would like you to speak more on being the bridge, filling the gap there that is needed in this moment. How does that feel for you all?
We feel incredibly fortunate. I mean, our role as a foundation is to find great leaders, understand their ideas, provide them with the resources they need, and frankly, get out of the way. And I think to be in a moment in a city like ours, where we've got such tremendously talented visionary leaders at the helm of many of our most important institutions, that we can come in and be enabling and provide the resources they need to execute on some really, really exciting and really, really impactful work is incredibly gratifying. And, personally feel very fortunate to get to be a part of it.
Well, thank you for what you all are doing to, again, bridge that gap and to help those healthcare heroes of today and tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And congratulations to the winners. That's an awesome thing. It's 3:26, everyone. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's just about 3:30. Let's take a look at how the market shaped up for the day. We've seen better days, but not all red on the screen. You can see a blip there of green, but obviously we would have loved to see a little bit more green today. I don't know that anybody's really surprised at where things ended up. Honestly, we ended better than we started. As you can see right here on your screen, we started down significantly this morning for the Dow Jones. I think at one point we were down like 500 points. So to end the day down 73.14, I mean, hey, not as bad as it was, not as good as it could be, but at times, as you see there, we even for a time, turned positive for the day, and we were rebounding from some sharp declines again, just couldn't sustain that for the rest of the day here. So let's kind of go over some of the factors that I'm kind of seeing that have weighed heavily. I mean, I'm sure you all can guess the major issue here, and that is the war with Iran. But let's talk through three of the factors that are being used here as explanations for this. So U.S. oil prices trading off their highest levels of the session, eased some concerns about the war's impact on the U.S. economy, but again, there's still a lot of uncertainty there. Also, investors buying heavily with the tech leaders of the world. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation over the last several days, even when it comes to the tech industry, and especially where AI is concerned. There's also some history of the equities largely shaking off these geopolitical conflicts. I'm sure the days and weeks will tell what we see there. You know, there are two small blips of green on the screen. Maybe we could get to some larger sustained points of positivity as more people just have a little bit more confidence as to what is actually going on here. So again, the Dow Jones closing down 73 points. The NASDAQ declined 1.6%. S&P 500 was down 0.1% here. So that's kind of a look at where things shaped up for the day in terms of the market. There's, some financial analysts who have said that future markets, even when we kind of got a glimpse of how things would start off for today, you could kind of see how things were shaking out yesterday, moving into today. There's some belief that the markets were overreacting to the conflict in Iran. So again, we shall see. Geopolitical tension tends to have, obviously, an impact on the market at any point in time. And right now, it's still so fresh that there's just a lot of uncertainty. And usually uncertainty plays out into what we're seeing even today here. So we'll see. We've had a day of several press conferences just to update us on what is even happening. So all of it's still very new, and the impact you can see here on the markets, and maybe it will change as the week goes on and there's more clarity for people, but right now just didn't end so well for today. All right, 3:32 as we give you a live look from the 2800 camera there along Lakeshore Drive. It's just gorgeous out there. I mean, the sun's shining on us, looking all great like it's springtime.
Yeah.
But we had to grab a coat.
We did. It's chilly out there, but not for everyone, actually. So
okay.
It really depends on where you're at. We have an east-southeasterly wind flow right now. And of course, with lake temperatures right around 35 degrees, anytime you have that wind flow coming in right off of the water, it makes a huge difference at the lakefront. So downtown Chicago right now, we're sitting in the upper 30s to near 40 degrees. But inland locations, places like Joliet, Aurora, LaSalle, close to 50.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not everywhere that it's cold, and at least we had the sunshine, and I hope you had an opportunity to enjoy it, because this is going to be maybe the last glimpse of the sun for the majority of the week. We have a pretty soggy week ahead of us.
Really?
Several rain chances. Not a bad thing, though.
So the precipitation is rain, though.
Yes, we are going to be warm enough for rain. So temperature-wise this week, things actually look pretty good. We're going to be in the low 40s tomorrow, upper 40s come Wednesday, jumping into the 50s by Thursday. So each and every day we kind of notice this nice climb when it comes to our temperatures. But yeah, if you're looking at that 7-day, it looks very rainy. However, I will say it's not going to be raining the whole day, every day, right? So tomorrow, I think the morning hours looking decent. We're going to be seeing increasing cloud cover, and then a lot of the rain, the thunderstorm potential, that's going to be here late in the day on Tuesday into Tuesday night. That'll be lasting into early Wednesday. We have another system coming through on Thursday, and that's going to be lasting into Friday. But then Friday night, we have a cold front that's going to be coming through in time for the weekend. It's not, well, but it's not going to drop the temperatures too much, which is nice. But we will have to watch for thunderstorm potential. You know, when we're this far out.
Spring weather.
Yes, that's right. So when we're this far out, 4 or 5 days out, it is really hard to know whether or not those storms are going to have all of the ingredients that they need for strong to severe thunderstorms, meaning 60 plus mile per hour wind gusts, 1 inch hail, possibly tornadoes. We don't know any of those things yet. So we have some indicators that we could have a couple stronger storms being possible, but it doesn't look like a slam dunk. So, you know, this is really going to be one of those weeks that as we get closer to Friday, if you do have plans to be out and about, just pay attention to the forecast. Of course, we'll keep you updated here over the next few days, but we do have storms in your forecast at times, mainly Tuesday evening into Tuesday night, and then the storm chance returns again on Friday.
Okay, I need to go through a few of the annual sayings here. So would this mean March is coming in like a lion?
Well, I think for me, I'm like, I think of that as like more snow related. So I kind of feel like March is coming in like a lamb, not so bad. And, you know, the rain, it's not a bad thing at this point. So as far as the drought monitor goes, closer to the lakefront, we're in good shape. We're not considered to be abnormally dry. We're not considered to be in any sort of drought. But when you go farther inland, that's where we're starting to see some of those abnormally dry conditions popping up. For those of you in far southern Kankakee County, parts of LaSalle County, definitely Newton and Jasper counties, you're actually considered to be in a moderate drought. And in southwestern LaSalle County, it's actually a severe drought. But throughout the course of this week, a lot of the heavier rain potential actually is over the southern portion of the viewing area. So near and south of I-80, I don't think it's out of the question that by the end of the week that we could easily see about 3 inches of rain in total, but it's spread out.
Okay.
So we're not overly concerned about flooding. I actually think it's going to be a pretty good thing for us going into the growing season. We're kind of banking this rainfall, right? We're banking this in hopes that we're not going to be dealing with too much drought going into the spring season and early summer. So not a bad thing.
Okay, now going into the weekend also, we're talking about a lack of sun, but daylight saving time is also happening. We're going to remind everybody. Oh, my producer and I were on the same page.
Yes.
We're getting ready for daylight saving time. So we got to remind everybody a lot this week.
Yes, that's right.
We're spring forward.
Spring forward. This is the hard one, right? Like this is the one where you're dragging for about a week afterward. But you know, the month of March, we see huge gains when it comes to daylight. So while from March 1st to the end of March, sunrise times, if you're comparing those, they're not going to change a ton because of that spring forward, right? But in total, in our minutes gained, we're gaining more than 80 minutes of daylight in the month of March, and it's the sunset time that you're really going to notice. So the sunset right now is around, it's shortly after 5:30. Sunset by March 31st is going to be around 7:30. So that sounds pretty good. That makes the spring forward worth it, right? Yeah, it makes, we have those big gains at the end of the day.
I though have noticed, like, it does feel weird even in the morning. Maybe it's just about the time that, you know, we're coming in or so. It kind of caught me a few days ago where I was like,
it's getting bright out here.
Yeah,
getting bright out here.
Am I on time? Did I sleep over?
Yeah. Well, because this time of the year, it's happening quickly. So every single day, we're gaining more than 2 minutes and 45 seconds of daylight between the front half and the back half of the day. So it is significant. You know, if you're not really paying attention and 2 weeks go by, well, by that point, you know, you're looking at 20 minutes ahead. So
there you go.
So you're not alone.
All right. It scared me the other day. I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's happening out there?
Well, yeah.
Am I late or what's up? You know.
Well, you know, we'll give you some grace if you are. It's all right.
Oh my goodness, there's so much going on, but we certainly appreciate you coming up to get us together. Might be a soggy week, but clearly we need it.
Well, and it's not going to be raining the whole time every day. Just be prepared. Don't leave the house or your place without the umbrella this week, because we have those showers periodically moving through every single day, starting tomorrow.
Hold on to the sunshine right now, everybody. Here we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
3:40, everybody. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. right, welcome back, everyone. Because we were talking about just how fantastic the weather is here in the city of Chicago, we had to give you a chance to see what's going on the East Coast. And you can see the flurries in your screen, and more so you can see in the background there just how much white is falling from the sky in DC right now, right around the White House. So they have had several inches of snow that have fallen overnight. A lot of slushy roads for people to navigate. It's caused some accidents out there, but it is supposed to be continuing to taper off. In fact, first thing when we started our broadcast, the first time we took a look, I mean, the snow was really coming down pretty hard. So it's even lessened up since we have been in this broadcast here for Chicago Live today. They've had a lot of strong wind gusts in the area. You think about the fact that, you know, Emily was just talking about the fact that we're getting ready to have spring-like weather. They are in the grip of winter right now. The schools are closed for several different areas in the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. That area around there. Federal offices open on a 2-hour delay because, you know, out there they cannot deal with a lot of snow, and they've had some refreezing even that's gone on at times. So not a good situation for them, but of course, back here at home, hey, things have been mighty nice. So when we get our rain over the next few days, 2 things to remember. One, remember this site right here. Remember the beauty that we have experienced on Monday. And then remember what the East Coast is going through right now and the fact that, well, snow is not a part of our picture. And she said rain, yes, maybe even some storms by the end of the week, but it's just rain. So we can get through it. We've been through worse. They are going through worse right now. Today is a day, though, that a lot of people are celebrating throughout the state, and we've had so many people online that are asking, what is Pulaski Day? Or who is Pulaski? Or is it a holiday in the state of Illinois? Let's talk about it all right now with Rich Oshani, who is joining me. He is the president of the Polish Museum of America. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
And happy Pulaski Day.
Well, thank you. It's the same to you.
Tell us about Pulaski Day. Where do we get this holiday from?
So in 1973, then Governor Dan Walker signed a governor's proclamation creating a Pulaski holiday. It was just it wasn't a formal holiday where schools were closed or government offices were closed. It was just a proclamation for recognizing Kazimierz Pulaski. 13 years later, in 1986, Governor Thompson made it an official state of Illinois holiday that was recognized by school boards. Governments were closed, and it was a all-out holiday for the state of Illinois. And to this day, it remains a holiday on the state of Illinois' holiday schedule. It's Illinois is the only state that recognizes General Pulaski and having a holiday after him.
Why do you think that is? Why is it significant for the state of Illinois to recognize Pulaski Day?
Well, there are two or three reasons. You know, the first being that General Pulaski, left Poland in 1777 after trying to fight for independence in Poland against the Russian oppressors. He was somewhat successful in mobilizing, Poles to uprise against the Russians, but in the end, the Russian army proved to be much stronger, and he escaped Poland and found his way to Paris. And with a recommendation from Benjamin Franklin to George Washington, joined the Continental Army. And so he is known as the father of the American cavalry, and set up the American cavalry upon his arrival here in the United States. He fought in various battles. His first battle was at Brandywine, and the last battle, which is where he gave up the ultimate sacrifice at the Battle of Savannah, and that's where he lost his life. And he had come to a country that was foreign to him, but he came to fight for independence and fight for freedom and for liberty and against the English tyranny. And so, for that main reason right there, is that he was the an individual who came here and fought for American independence, gave up his life, and contributed significantly to the cause. The other reason is obviously we in the state of Illinois have a large population of Polish Americans, and this was a way to as a tribute to the Polish American community, and recognizing a hero of two countries, Poland and the United States, but also recognizing the impact and the contributions of Poles and Polish Americans in the state of Illinois.
In that aspect of it, I was telling my coworkers, I had a driver a while back who said, and I want you to verify this for me, he said that Illinois has more more Polish people than anywhere else in the world except Poland.
Outside of Warsaw, yes, the Chicago is got the largest concentration of Poles, Chicago and Illinois, because we can't just exclude the rest of Illinois, but it has the largest concentration of Poles and Polish Americans than any other state, as well as outside of Poland. Yes.
Why?
Well, immigration to the United States, it was at a time when Poland wasn't on the map of the face of Europe. And actually, you can go even further. The Poles were part of the colony at Jamestown. They actually also were the first workers to stage a strike on American soil, demanding the right to vote and demanding the rights of citizenship in Jamestown. And so the Jamestown was the start of Polish immigration, which was trickled in the 1800s, but towards the end of the 1800s and into the early 1900s, there was mass immigration of Poles coming to the United States, and not only just to Illinois, but to Pennsylvania, to New York. The first colony was organized in Texas, Panna Maria, in Texas, and that was people were coming here because of for bread. They call it for chleb in Polish, which means for bread, meaning to sustain life. For economic reasons. Poland was off the face of Europe. It was difficult. Life was difficult. And Poles looked to America as a place where a family can be raised. You could make it, working hard. You could live well and have a decent life here. And that's the reason why a lot of Poles came here.
Very interesting. And then we see so much of the Polish influence throughout Chicago. I'd love for you to talk about like the lasting impression. I mean, the streets that are named, things of that nature.
Sure. Poles. Chicago has been a magnet for Poles from almost the beginning when Chicago was formed, and the Polish community was born in the what's referred to as the Polish downtown. It's the Milwaukee Division and Ashland intersection that's referred to the Polish as the Polish downtown. And at the beginning of the 20th century, Poles were concentrating in that area. They were building churches. Churches were almost within a block or two of each other as they were being built, simply because that were that many people. Our first Polish Catholic church, which is St. Stanislaw Kostka, which is on Noble Street. You can see it right off the Kennedy as you're driving downtown. It looks like you're going to drive into the rectory building, but it's the first parish, and it was the largest parish at the time, where they had over 40,000 parishioners. They had 15 masses going on Sundays on two levels, in the main church and in the lower level chapel. In addition, they had over 3,000, I think it's 3,000 or 4,000 children attending parochial school. So that neighborhood exploded with Poles concentrating, living there, and albeit they built a social structure with churches, with social groups. The Polish Museum is located there, although the Polish Museum wasn't organized until 1935. You had other institutions that popped up all along through that area. You had groups like the Polish National Alliance, the Polish Roman Catholic Union, as well as the Polish Women's Alliance. All social service agencies providing life insurance for Polish Americans, looking to have some sort of sense of security if a family member died. And so, it mushroomed from there. Then, you move to the south side by St. Adalbert's in Pilsen, that also had a large Polish population. And then as time moved on, people moved up Milwaukee Avenue, moved further northwest, past Pulaski Avenue, and moving into the suburbs, Niles, Des Plaines, Park Ridge, things like that. And then the same thing on the south side along Archer Avenue. You had, big communities of Polish Americans, moving there, living there, opening up businesses along Archer Avenue, all the way going south down further into the suburbs. So Poles have maintained a massive presence in the state of Illinois and in Chicago primarily, because again, for economic reasons, this is where jobs were. This is where you could work at. If you if you were on the far southeast side, you could work in the steel mills. If you lived on the south side, you went to the armor hoggeries and things like that. So the opportunities were here for people to make their lives and make their lives better for their children and grandchildren. And in addition to living, people have made our marks. You've got statues. You've got the Kościuszko statue and the Nicholas Copernicus statue by the planetarium. You've got other Polish points of interest throughout the city that maintain a high presence.
Now, how do people celebrate or commemorate Pulaski Day?
They celebrate it by coming to the Polish Museum of America and partaking in a program that honors his life, his commitment, and that ultimate sacrifice that he gave up for this country. This year we were fortunate to have a wide variety of speakers, including Mayor Brandon Johnson, along with State Treasurer Michael Frericks, Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas, Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi, Comptroller, State of Illinois Comptroller Susan Mendoza, the Consul General of the Republic of Poland, Regina Jutkowska. So we had a wide variety of speakers, paying tribute to Kazimierz Pulaski, as well as we had some informational videos that we showed about his life, as well as a program book that included a detailed history, a biography of Kazimierz Pulaski.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with me today. I think this is a wonderful way of us honoring his legacy and, again, educating even more people about what he's done both here in the city of Chicago, throughout Illinois, and for this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Mm-hmm. Take care. 3:56. Let's get in a 2-minute break, and then we'll be back to close out the show. Welcome back, everyone, and we certainly hope that you'll be tuning in for another day of Chicago Live. Tomorrow we'll be here from 1 to 4 p.m. Before we send you to the 4 o'clock news, my prayers are with each and every service member serving overseas right now, today, and for quite some time.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
A lot going on in the Middle East. The White House says airstrikes on Iran could last weeks. The ripple effects are hitting oil supplies, the stock market in countries far from the front lines.
And Jeffrey